All right. Welcome, everyone. We've got one guest with us so far. My name's Luisa Mitchell. I'm the director of the Uni Goonies Film Festival, and today we have Richard Sowada with us, who has directed for over 20 years Revelation Perth International Film Festival. He's done amazing stuff. He's an amazing man of many talents, and we're very lucky to have him with us here today. I've got some questions for you, Richard, and hopefully we'll have some questions from other people as well. So, how about you just tell us, starting off, easy peasy, how did you begin a film festival and why did you do it?
Right, okay. I'll try and keep that short. I was working in the film industry in distribution and exhibition on the commercial side, working at a cinema actually in WA, which no longer exists anymore, but which is run by the person that owns the current Luna Cinemas. Anyway, I got really interested. I'd always loved films, as people do. And then I got interested in the way audiences were responding to films and the way money was flowing through the system in a business sense. And I thought, I quite like this, and I'm keen to work in the distribution area and more in exhibition as well. Anyway, so I got a job. I moved to Melbourne and I got a job working in a few cinemas around the traps and did a little bit of work for the Melbourne Film Festival as well, selling tickets and just working on that front of house side of things. Anyway, I started putting a few ideas for film programs on the table to the various cinemas that I was working at. And they kept saying, oh, no, we've done this before. It doesn't really work.
Yeah.
People aren't interested. It's too niche.
I've heard that before, Richard.
I'll get to niche in a second.
Yeah.
And so it was all that kind of thing. And I thought, look, fuck it. I like the idea. And, I go to the movies a lot. So I can't be the only one that will respond to this. So anyway, I started putting on films in bars and various clubs and that sort of thing in Melbourne, and then I moved back to WA and I was doing it in WA. And basically I thought, look, I don't need you, I don't need your structure, I don't need what you think your audience is, I don't even need your advice. I'm just going to do it myself and find the audience where it lives, which is what I did.
Yeah.
And so the film festival kind of sprang from that. So I did a few ideas here and there. I started with individual films and then more films on the bill and then, more days in a consolidated way, 3 or 4 days and that sort of thing. And that kind of slowly built into the film festival. But, what I found with when people said, oh, it's too niche or whatever, there's a couple of things there. One is that now, because the industry is so... Well, back in the day, there were a number of cinemas that would cater for specific tastes there'd be like art house, cinemas, there'd be cinemas that would show cult movies, there'd be cinemas that would show, blockbusters and all that sort of thing. And there would be distributors that would handle those kind of films as well. So there'd be a whole range of very specialised, catalogues. Anyway, so... But as the art house business grew to what it is now, the ability, the businesses got so big and the costs got so large that the cinemas and distributors had to speak to the broadest possible audience, not the most focused audience, is what they used to speak to.
Yeah.
So as time progressed, and this is over like a 25-year cycle, so which is the way the industry works in a 25-year type cycle, same as fashion and same as music. And so as things progressed, and these same people who are still controlling the industry today progressed through it by making that business as much more broader, they lost the ability to speak to a niche audience, or to a tailored audience.
Sure.
Niche is perhaps the wrong word. So they lost that language, that actual physical language. And when they lost that language over time, they thought that audience didn't exist anymore because they were no longer coming to their movies.
Yeah, but they just weren't being catered to.
Yeah, that's right. People weren't speaking to them in their tongue, in their language. So you know, and so that's basically it. So when people say to me, "Oh, that's too niche," I kind of think, okay, you're saying that's niche because number one, you don't understand who they are.
Yeah.
Number two, they don't come to your venue, so you don't think that they exist. And number three, what is niche anyway? When I was showing movies down at Mojo's in Fremantle, I don't know how many years ago, 1995
decades ago,
or something like that.
Yeah.
On a rainy Monday night down there in wintertime, it would be full. So and cabaret seated and that sort of thing. So I'd have like 120 people in that venue sitting down watching these kind of films that were just like fucking from another planet. And you know, I was turning people away at the door often, not always, but often.
Wow.
And show me a venue in Perth at the time, or even still today, whether it's like Luna or Hoyts or Village, that has 60 people on a wintry, or 100, let's say 100 people on a wintry, rainy Monday night. Show me a cinema that has got that, and you tell me what I'm doing is niche.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You don't have, I do.
And the fact of the matter is if you weren't doing this, Richard, then who would be showing these films and catering to these people's needs? Yeah.
So kind of what happened in Perth for me is that Perth, with all due respect to Perth and Perth people, it's a long way away. And it's very difficult at times to see and experience things that are going on in the world right now. And it's no disrespecting Perth or whatever, it's just
we're very isolated, no, it's true.
The logistic of geography. And even with the speed and the immediacy of the internet, it's still, you know, it's still a thing in the mind. Anyway, so my kind of thing was, because I grew up in Sydney and such and lived in Melbourne for a little while where I am now, it was like, look, this place really needs a poke in the eye. You know, it really needs like a punch in the nose. And it needs to see these incredible movies and these amazing things that people are doing. And whether you like it or not, I'm going to show them. And if you want to come, great. And if you don't want to come, great. I don't care.
You know what I find really interesting, Richard, is that it was like this almost push against the naysayers, this push against, you know, this born out of a frustration that there wasn't such and such happening. And it was absolutely the same for us as well with the Uni Goonies. Like we had naysayers, we had people saying certain things that you can't do this, you can't do that. And I think that it drove me more to do this and to start something.
Yeah, look, I agree with you, and I take my hat off to you because it's not an easy thing to do. And look, the gene pool for what we do in the industry is very small. There's not many people in the country and not many people in the world that do it. It's really, really hard to make a break for yourself in this kind of sector, in the screen culture sector and in the distribution and exhibition sector, because no one will help you. The only way of doing it properly is eyeballing the audience and doing it yourself, like being in the room, going up and sticking up the posters, doing the whole thing and getting it and learning all the mechanisms of it. That's the only way to learn. It's the only way to do it. And it is full of people that say no. But see, the weird thing is, Louisa, is that, look, firstly, no one in the sector actually really knows. There are no rules. I'll rephrase it. There are no rules. But the industry pretends that there is. And they make it look like there is. And that's a way of them mystifying it, so they can control it. So that's one thing. And then the other side is that, you know, it's so wide open to do whatever you want. All you need is an idea and an audience, or where you think an audience is, and money that you're prepared to lose if you're prepared to lose it. To give it a red hot crack. Because it's the only way of doing it. And it was very, you know, I wouldn't say punk rock for me back in the day, but it kind of was. It was like, well, no one is going to help me. I got to, if I want to work in this industry, I just got to do it. And I did, and that's what's happened. to date. But that's not to say that it's still easy or to say that it's easier now than it was back then, because it's not. It's incredibly hard.
Well, I was going to ask, Richard, what are some of your biggest challenges, do you think, or were some of your biggest challenges in setting up this film festival?
Money. The thing is that when you're working, look, it's easy to get a film that people know and love or respond to, like Ferris Bueller's Day Off or something like that. It's very easy to be backward looking and go, okay, it's like broadcast TV, it's like TV. And the film industry as a whole, it's built on the last success, not the next good idea. So it's a constantly retrospective looking business.
Very true.
So
yeah.
It's constantly looking backwards at what has been successful, not what can be possible. So if you're looking forward, you're not out of step. Well, you are out of step because you're not in the majority, and you're not in the money making zone. You know, you're in the what are the possibilities? What's next to explore? And that's new territory. And when you're in new territory, you don't have people around you to help you.
Yeah.
And you don't have people around you that even understand what it is that you're doing. Like, I don't mind saying, when I was working at the Australian Centre for the Moving Image, I worked there for 9 years, and 3 years ago I left. You know, I'd be proposing things for the film programs and organisationally there. And the bosses, or my immediate boss, who was the CEO, God love him, I liked him, got on well with him. He'd say, well, where is the model? Where is the model for this? And
there is no model.
There's no fucking model. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Unless you're prepared to take a roll of the dice and base that roll of the dice on some previous proof of concepts that you have done, where you've said, there is no model for this.
Yeah.
I have invented this thing, but it worked. And look back and see how it worked. Now I would like you to take a trip with me to a place that you have never been before, and hopefully it will work again, or this will work. Yeah. Just like what they did back then.
Yeah.
So so that's the hardest thing, is getting people to trust an untested idea.
Right.
And
I mean, especially with your films are so unique. They're so independent, like you said. They're so niche. So, you know, why, I suppose you've already kind of explained why it's important to show that. But is there anything more to kind of elaborate on why it's important to show, you know, young upcoming filmmakers and films that we've never seen before?
Yeah, look, I'd have to say to anyone, you have to be at the front. And that doesn't mean necessarily knowing all the technology and such, but it's very important to do that. You have to, look, people in the industry are constantly saying, like in film distribution and exhibition and in production as well, are constantly saying, oh, it's so challenging. You know, things are moving so fast. It's like, where is the audience? You know, this technology I don't know how to use or whatever. Yeah. It's not about that. It's about you have to be at the front, and you have to give everything a red hot go. Let's say, for instance, like the film festival. We're developing now like an interactive conference component with AR and VR and AI and game, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Look, it's not my area, although I love playing Call of Duty. But it's not my area.
First personal detail to come out of the interview. He loves Call of Duty.
Yeah. I'm learning a lot about it, and a lot of the principles of the industry are just pure connective principles of psychology, and that doesn't change. You know, that's a science like, you know, chemistry. It doesn't change. The way people connect with stories and meaning and stuff doesn't change. So, but it's you learn that, and then you apply it to other things. So let's say, for instance, with the film festival, this like interactive conference, and then like about 3 years ago, I started building a video on demand platform made up of as many films as the film festival has screened as I can possibly find. And I work on it every day, and it's got like 350 films now. And look, I knew nothing about really putting films online and monetizing, films online.
Yeah.
On a platform. But now I've built this thing, and I'm getting so many filmmakers from all over the world emailing me saying, can I put my film on your platform? Can I put my film on your platform? And I know, this is 3 years down the track, and I know it's going to be probably another 2 years before it reaches a critical mass.
Yeah.
That people around the world, other online platforms, will look at it and go, far out. And other film festivals too, because I'm in a competitive film festival world where they are going, they don't know what to do because the industry is changing so fast around them. So my kind of thing is, I'm not staying sitting down. I'm constantly video on demand, that sounds cool. I'm going to give that a go and see how it works.
Yeah.
And that's actually it. How does it work? Whether it's successful or not is another thing altogether. It's this is the thing now. I'm going to see how it works.
This is what's happening right now. Let's give it a go. Yeah.
Look, way back in the day when the festival first started, it had no money, literally no money. But I had to build a website. It's fuck, how am I going to, how? I know nothing.
Yeah.
So I spent 6 months downloading HTML source code from websites that I liked and figured it out just by doing it.
Yeah.
Just by doing the coding, and I taught myself the whole thing. So for the first few years of the festival, I was building the website entirely, with animations and things flashing around and logos moving and the whole thing. But that's just sheer bloody-minded.
Yeah. But how much more skilled are you now because of that? You know what I mean? You learn so much through this process of just throwing yourself into things.
Well, that's right. So now I know when I'm getting ripped off, when someone, let's say, for instance, with web designers or whatever, say, oh, it's going to cost you this or this takes, and it's well, actually, no.
I did this 20 years ago, and I know what I'm doing.
I know what it costs. I know what it takes. I know how it works. And it's the same with the on-demand, for instance. And it's the same with organising a conference like the digital one that we're doing. I organised a documentary conference in WA in 2001. I knew nothing about conferences. It's okay, I reckon I can do it. So I did it. And so that's what you do. So that's my advice to filmmakers or anyone. It's you cannot be afraid of logistic. You cannot be afraid of technology. You have to be at the front, because if you're not at the front, you're at the back. And you just constantly have to push and push and push. Now, there's nothing wrong with being part of being part of a popular movement. But you still have to have one foot at the front. You look at the great actors like Robert Duvall and Marlon Brando and, I don't know, Jack Nicholson to a degree, and some of the great filmmakers and such. They're one for them, one for us. One for the popular culture where the money goes in the bank, and one that no one will see.
Yeah.
That no one will see one is where I'm learning my craft and moving things forward, and that's my dues to the industry. That's where I'm really taking.
And those are the ones that become, cult classics. And
that's exactly right. You have to be at the front. You have to be at the front.
So I've got a question for you, Richard, from someone who's submitted one. It's a very long one, but I'll read it out for you. It says, since the advent of the internet, in brackets, I know it's been a long time, marketing channels have narrowed considerably. It seems that we have very specific film channels available to us via streaming sources based on narrow guidelines such as country, location, genre, etc. What challenges does it provide in having a film festival, or does it instead provide opportunities for festival content? How do you gauge what the public wants to see, or is it simply easier to program what you like and hope that there are just enough people out there that share similar views? Is your content decision-making based on science, such as statistics, or just a gut feeling? Very long question. What's your answer?
No, that's good. There's a lot in there. Firstly, marketing, the fragmentation of traditional outlets, let's say newspapers, and not so much radio, but newspapers particularly, that's hard because you actually don't know where the audience is. You don't. It's very difficult to know how to reach them, and there are a lot of people out in the digital realm who pretend that they do, and you can spend a lot of money on them because they have like in the old days, the traditional media, where there'd be media buyers, and they would have relationships with all these newspapers and publications, and you would go to them, and they'd say, "Okay, we can buy you space in Film Inc., Screen Hub, blah blah blah, and blah blah blah, blah blah blah, Vice and such." So you give them all your money, and then they go away and spend it. But you don't really know what the impact of that is.
Where it's going, yeah.
It's impossible to gauge what the impact is. And when you look at even click-throughs through our website, we get quite a lot of people coming to our website. But when you look at the referral statistics of where they're from, there's a lot of referrals, but they're very minor numbers. You know, there's a lot of different places that they come from, but they're very minor numbers. And that means you have to put in a lot of work and get for very minor individual results. And it's like with an on-demand platform, like if you're putting your film on demand, whether it's Netflix or whether it's with me or whether it's Stan or whatever. And I don't think like those on-demand platforms are actually doing as well as what they like us to think that they are. If they were doing very well, they'd be putting their figures up the highest flagpole in the country to say, look how well we're doing. But they don't, and you can't get those figures out of them. But let's say, for instance, with Rev On Demand, we make sales every day with the films. But for an individual filmmaker, you don't. It's going to take you 2 or 3 years to see any money because you're seeing 50% of $3, and then I start paying them money when I make about $100 or so on the film. Otherwise, the international exchange rates just kill you and take the filmmakers' money.
Yeah.
So for the filmmakers with the individual title, just like the referrals to us, the individual elements are tiny. But for me, being the aggregator with On Demand, if I'm making sales of this film and that film and that film every day, then I'm seeing a good return into the bank. That's what I'm saying. So ultimately, there is good return online, but there's a lot of work to do it because there are so many fragments of it. And what was the other part of the question?
So I suppose, like, is your content decision making based on those statistics, or is it more on what you feel, like a gut feeling?
Okay, programmatically in the film festival, there are a couple of things. One is that there are tent poles that you need to make you money. So there are films that are big on the film festival circuit that have a buzz and have a momentum behind them that audiences will want to see, to be connected to this. Yeah. Really, of this network of creative energy. Anyway, so there are those that you've got to see. So we generally kind of we think, okay, we need 8, we call them tent poles. We need 8 tent poles in the program that is going to going to
bring those people in. Yeah.
And the people that see them also trickle down to the other films. So you have some powerhouse films, and it drifts into the other films. So we look at 8 type things, and then we think, okay, we need probably 2 or 3 large scale special events. Let's say band with a film, films like that. So there's a couple of big special events, and then everything else is based on merit. And when I'm looking at films, like at film festivals, when I'm looking at film festival catalogues, I'll ordinarily I'll look at the film titles first, and because I'll know nothing about the films, just the same way an audience will. They will know nothing. But if the film title is cool, I'll stop and go, "Oh, that sounds like a cool movie," even before I've read what it's about. So that will grab me. And then the second thing probably to grab me is a still, like a really good still. You cannot underestimate those 2 things: the title of the film and the image that you use to sell it.
All right. So hint, future filmmakers, title and stills.
Totally. And look, I've been to film markets like at the Cannes Film Market and the European Film Market in Berlin and such. And look, there are so many films there that don't exist. All that exists is the title and the poster. There's nothing else, and maybe the cast, maybe the director. But even then, the key image from the film is like something that is just invented, and not a foot of footage has been shot, and it's all on literally on paper. So that is the thing that they're selling. That's the thing that they're selling. They're selling the feel, not the film.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I look at that, and then you kind of see like a theme sort of developing naturally, internationally, and then so you kind of follow those sort of threads as well. So it's a 3-stage process, really. It's like, here are the foundation stones of what I know I need to build to make the revenue, to make the festival work, and
what are the ones that jump out at you? Yeah, like kind of pull you in.
And then with the call for entries that we do. So I watch all of those, and almost all of the shorts come in from the call for entries, and usually 2 features and 2 or 3 feature documentaries and that sort of thing. So, so that's kind of how it works. So I don't look for anything in particular.
Yeah.
But obviously, I look at films that can put some money in the bank. But then I look at real films that people, and I say to the program director, Jack Sargent, who lives in Sydney, constantly, look, I want people to walk out of the cinema and go, fuck, that I was not expecting. That, what was that thing? And that's what I want.
They just don't understand it.
It's not a matter of having people not understand what it is that they're seeing, but it's a matter of people just going, fuck, I never knew.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
That was my reaction to Suspiria. Have you seen that yet? I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah.
The debate was highly polarised. I loved it, but did you...
Well, fair enough. Look, when I saw the original, and I was kind of connected to the original because I bought the band who did the original score out, and they played the score live to the original film, and so that was a real experience for me. I love the original. It's just when I saw that, I was like, oh wow, that's really something. But I didn't kind of have that
same reaction
the latest one. But maybe that's my proximity
to the movie. Yeah. So Revelation is hugely successful. You have, is it around 500 films get entered or submitted?
Yeah, we have about 500 that are sent to us.
Yeah, so the Uni Goonies got almost 50 this year. How can we get to 500? Like, what's some advice for making our festival more successful and bigger and better?
Look, bigger is not always better. That's number one.
Okay.
And the other thing, I think probably one of the most important things, is you have to have an event that's meaningful. That means something to the films and filmmakers and the community. Like, it's very easy, and over 20 years while I've been doing this and longer being part of the industry, I've seen so many film festivals that, like a local council, for instance, or a tourism commission, or someone has said, what do we need? What do we need to bring people to this area? What do we need to really make ourselves a proper city? I know, a film festival. Let's have a film festival. And so that's what they do. But that's not a meaningful thing to me. Yeah. That's not to say that those events are bad necessarily or whatever, but it's not. It doesn't have a meaning. And I'm going to be a little bit philosophical here to a degree and say that our culture is full of meaningless shit and full of meaningless movies.
Yeah.
I don't have time for meaningless movies, and that's not to say that they've got to be deep and meaningful. It's something they've got to have a reason to be, and this is what I tried very, very hard with the film festival to be, and not to deviate from that path. Is that it has to be meaningful and have a meaningful impact on the community, and on the filmmakers, and on the industry, and on social justice and politics as well. It has to have something, it has to have a purpose. And look, the first line in our business plan, our vision statement, is to make a difference. That's all. That's what we are set up to do.
Exactly.
And if we hold to that, and I would lay that on the line to filmmakers as well, which doesn't mean that you have to be some kind of serious Jean-Luc Godard or something like that. It's like, but you have to have a purpose in what it is that you're doing, because when going back to what I was talking about before about psychology, it's that purpose that gives it meaning, and it's that meaning that connects with people. It's like, yeah, I see. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Or that's what I think. Something, you know.
Yeah.
Well, that's how real it has to be.
So is that why, like, when I first contacted you, you were so supportive from the very first email I sent you, which was ridiculous because I was no one, and we were no one. We still are no one, but we've got sponsors behind us now. But a year ago when I contacted you, we were absolutely nothing, and you were very supportive for us from day one. Why? Like, do you think it was because it is for students and it's something that is for a kind of niche, smaller audience, or why were you so supportive of us?
Look, I'm supportive, and the film festival is supportive of anyone that is prepared to give it a go and give it a red hot crack, because it's fucking hard.
Yeah.
And it's like I said before, the only way you can learn how to do it is to do it. And no one helped me in getting it off the ground. I had to go my own, and it's not like where are the violins, Rick? It's like, well, look, you know, and it turned out to be the best thing. I really learned. I learned everything about the business.
Yeah.
You know, if people are prepared to put themselves on the line like that, and because it will not always work, and it is very hard work, and if someone is prepared to do it in a place like Western Australia, which is even doubles the degree of difficulty, then good luck, and I will help you do it.
Yeah.
Because it can only be beneficial for the individual and the community and the industry. It can only, the more stuff that is going on in WA that is just completely freewheeling outside the established way of doing things can only be a good thing. And so I take my hat off to you, and totally happy to help and do what I can.
Thank you. I mean, we've been so appreciative and we're very grateful, so thank you. Now, I don't think we've got any other questions from our guests, and I'm aware that you need to run off. So I'll just let people know that the Uni Goonies Film Festival is on this Saturday, 17th of November. Yes. Everyone attend. We've got some amazing films. They're really, really fantastic and of really high quality. So come along. It starts at 6 p.m, ends at 9 p.m, and tickets are still on sale between $10 and $15. So yeah.
And let me just jump in, Louisa, and
please do.
I think it's a really great idea. Perth needs to build a critical mass like this, something that can bring students together, where you are able to, where they're able to look at their work against other works, very, very important, and to have a critical and appreciative audience that is able to talk to each other honestly. Such a good thing. And a message just came up, I think, on my screen saying, where do you hear about these things and this and that? And that's tough. And maybe that's something that, I don't know, that Uni Goonies might want to think about, is establishing some kind of ongoing network that can pool all these things.
That's our long-term goal, is to have not just a film festival at the end of the year, but events throughout the entire year. Because the whole idea for us is to get young filmmakers working and networking with real industry filmmakers. And so that's our long-term goal. And you can definitely find more about us on our website, unigooniesfilmfest.com. So there are ways to find us and find more information for sure.
Yeah. And if you're a fan, you know, you've just got to dig and dig and dig and keep your ear to the ground. And, certainly, you know, join the Revelation Film Festival newsletter. We're promoting things and all the time, film festivals and things that are happening, and screenings and industry things and this and that are really good and accessible. And once you tap into a network, you know,
there's no getting out.
But Uni Goonies, yes.
Yeah. Awesome. So support Revelation and the Uni Goonies, guys. Thank you so much for listening in, and thank you, Richard, for chatting with us.
Pleasure.
We really appreciate it. All right, bye, guys.
Bye.